Hey guys, thanks for checking this video out. As some of you may know, it's been a very long time since I've actually covered anything DPS related, much less make a DPS build video. But here we are today. Most of you know me through my tanking or healing content on the Elder Scrolls Online. But we'll be going over my Blackrose prison setup for my Magicka Templar DPS. So yes, this setup has cleared the veteran Blackrose prison content, fine, and you can make your own adjustments. If you guys have any questions that aren't answered in this build video, let me know down in the comments below. I'd also like to give a shout out to Ivan Casto from Console for loving my video so much. So to start off with, the gear you'd want in general is going to be 2-piece Grothdarr. So the Grothdarr AoE damage is insane still, obviously, even if monster sets don't crit anymore. And most of Blackrose prison is trash, and the faster trash dies, the faster your runs go, and the easier it is on your tank, the other DPS, and the healer. Basically, the golden rule of ESO still remains in Blackrose prison. The faster things die, the better kill things before they kill you. Same concept in Veteran Master Marina and Dragonstar Arena. The 5-piece primary set we're going to be wanting to wear is Scathing Mage. So I'm going to be explaining the comparison, the differences between this and why I chose it over Burning Spellweave and sets like that. And the other set on the 5-piece front bar is going to be 5-piece Mother's Sorrow. And I'm going to be going over why I picked this. And on the back bar, we have Maelstrom Lightning Staff with Infuse Absorb Magicka enchant for sustain, as Blackrose prison often can be very strenuous on your resources. And on the Inferno Staff of a Mother's Sorrow, we have the typical infused trait, flame damage, and divines on all pieces. That's pretty important. And on the jewelry traits, it's going to be each infused with spell damage. As for why infused and why not arcane, mathematically speaking, as of the Wrathstone patch, infused comes out ahead of arcane for both stamina and magicka. So if you're stamina, typically you go with infused over robust, and for magicka, infused over arcane, regardless of class. Mag DK, Mag Sword, doesn't matter. Mag Blade infuses ahead of the default traits that we used to DPS with. So to explain the Scathing Mage, the Scathing Mage gives you 2 spell crit bonuses, and in comparison to Burning Spellweave, it's a bit more crit. And we're actually going to want that crit, considering we will be using a Mundus Stone called the Lever. Now, a Lever increases your spell and physical pen. Obviously, it also depends on how many divine pieces you have. In this case, we have all divines. And we're going to need Lever in Veteran Blackrose prison, because the tank cannot apply debuffs to every single trash mob, every single boss in fact, depending on the arena you're on. So the Lever is a really good Mundus Stone to have in Blackrose prison. And as for food, I kind of sort of skipped over it, but I'll be going over it later. As for food, it's going to be Citrus Fillet, or a, you can do Witch Mothers as well, but Citrus Fillet gives you slightly more health, and you will need all the health you can get in Veteran Blackrose prison, as everything hits pretty damn hard. So Scathing Mage gives you the 2 spell crit bonuses. This Burning Spellweave does not. Burning Spellweave gives you like 1 spell damage bonus, sure, and they are actually similar in terms of the spell damage you get from proccing the 5-piece. So Scathing Mage gives you 516 spell damage, fully golded out for 6 seconds. Burning Spellweave gives slightly more, I believe, than that, like about 15 to 20 more spell damage, which isn't a huge deal. But at the same time, it has like a proc condition. You have a 15% chance to apply the burning status effect to the enemy from dealing fire damage. Now, as a Magplar, you don't really have fire-based damage, except Force Pulse from the Destro Staff skill line and Solar Barrage. So it's kind of, to me, it was not very attractive, the proc condition, and the cooldown. There's a 4-second cooldown in between each proc, so it kind of did not attract me to it. And the Scathing Mage, when you deal direct crit damage, which the Magplar has, light attacks, whatever, force balls, you have a 20% chance to increase your spell damage by 516 for 6 seconds. This effect occurs once every 6 seconds. It basically keeps proccing. If you're constantly hitting something as a Magplar in Blackrose Prison, you're always proccing Scathing Mage, and you'll always get that 516 spell damage, which is pretty huge. So there's no cooldown essentially at all. As for why we have 5-piece Motor Sorrow on the front bar, again, crit. Crit is still a big deal, because as I said before, we're using the lever, we're not using thief, we're not using precise staves, which we wouldn't want to use because infused double barred still holds out more single target on bosses than one precise on the front bar and one infused on the back bar. I'll bring that up later as we go along. But yeah, we're using the lever, so you guys gotta compensate for the lack of spell crit, and this is pretty much going to be your spell crit the entire time on your front bar, 62.7%, and that is enough crit to help out with scathing, and that is why I chose this over Burning Spellweave, and that's pretty much it. So the Lightning Staff bar, a lot of you will be wondering why Lightning Staff. The Lightning Staff bar is for the off-balance damage that I'll be getting as a Magplar, and I'll be going over the CP here real quick. So the CP, the red and green CP I use from my website and from my Discord server. You guys can check it out. You can use the same CP as I do, doesn't matter. 72 Ironclad, 16 Spell Shield, 56 Hardy, 56 LE, 14 Light Armor Focus, 56 Thick Skin. This is all basic damage mitigation, and you will definitely want this setup. You don't need anything to quick recovery. Green CP per use standard. Again, there's a video on optimizing CP in my channel if you want to check it out for Blackrose Prison, but mainly we'll be looking at the blue CP here. So again, pretty standard CP. The reason why we want a Lightning Staff on the back bar as a Magplar in Blackrose Prison is because of Exploiter. So the Exploiter, once you put 75 into the ritual tree overall, will give you 10% more damage done against off-balanced enemies, and the Lightning Wall has a chance to give you concussion and off-balance from your Lightning Wall and Light Weaving. So we're going to put 75 in Dom, because none of these other 3 perks have any relation whatsoever to a Magicka DPS. So the 75 Thaumaturge gives you 23.4% dot amplification, and as a Magplar, as you guys all know, typically Magplars have a lot of dots. We got Solar Barrage, we got Shard, we got Wall, and so on. And if you would rather slot Puncturing Sweeps over Force Pulse, which I prefer not to, because Force Pulse is typically better in terms of damage, you can do that as well. So 48 Elfborn, 49 Elemental Expert, 23 Spell Erosion. Remember, we have to take into account the Lever Penetration, and 19 Staff Expert and 56 Master at Arms. This is pretty much it for the blue CP. As for the bar setups, we're going to be going over this as well. As a Breton, so I tried out Altmer first in Veteran Blackrose Prison. It was awful. It was completely horrendous. In comparison to Breton, after race changing again to Breton, the Breton was very, very noticeably better in terms of sustain, and it helps a lot, especially as a Magicka Templar, to be a Breton, especially in Blackrose Prison. So I would highly recommend being a Breton for your Magicka Templar. Now, Honor the Dead will be the first skill we'll be looking at. So in Blackrose Prison, things hit really hard, as I've mentioned, and Ritual of Red isn't a good enough heal, or even a burst heal at all, that we can use to heal ourselves and other people in the group. So I picked Honor the Dead. And why Honor the Dead over Breath of Life? Well, Honor the Dead gives you sustain back. If you heal anyone who's below 75% health, it restores 60% of this cost, so 60% of the 3.6k magic cost over 6 seconds of magic, and this is a pretty huge deal. You don't want to run out of magic. You're not really healing, you're just sort of off healing, you're just helping yourself, and sometimes maybe the tank or another DPS in the group, but this is like for the emergency, for if you're getting hit by everything, and so on. And why not Repentance? Well, you have to understand that when things spawn in Blackrose Prison, on Vet, things can just immediately attack you out of nowhere. So there will be some time before you actually get to hit them and kill them. And we would want a heal before then, for sure, most likely. And Repentance will only work if things are dead. And typically, if you don't get healed before you kill them, you'll probably die in Blackrose Prison. So ultimately, we're going to go with Honor the Dead on the front bar. And we have Force Pulse. So Force Pulse is really good for single target and also for cleave. If you want to go with puncturing sweeps, which I don't really recommend, go for it. It's just kind of lackluster even after all this time compared to Force Pulse, ironically enough. Solar Barrage. It's relatively a new skill that Magplars have been slotting these past 2 patches. So Solar Barrage, they changed it to where when the ability is active, you get unlimited empower. So you get a 40% increase in your light attack damage, which is pretty big. And this lasts for 6 seconds. So for 6 seconds you get unlimited empower. And also it's a decent AoE damage skill. So every 2 seconds for the next 8 seconds, you're gonna be just pumping out this fire-based or magic-based dot around you. So you're basically moving dot house. So Radiant Oppression, this is going to be our execute, of course, and the 1.8 second duration as opposed to the old duration is going to allow you to weave a bit more, or set dots down and beam down the executable bosses or even mobs in Blackrose Prison. And we have Inner Light. So Inner Light is going to be on the front bar for the Mage's Guild passive. Magic Controller, you get more magic recovery and max magicka, and this directly ties in with how strong your abilities will hit for. And on the ultimate front bar, we're going to have Crescent Sweep. You can use this as a very cheap ulti damage skill, but we're primarily slotting it for the Piercing Spear passive from the Adric Spear passive skill line, increasing your crit damage on the front bar by 10%. Since you're not using sweeps instead of Force Pulse, you're going to have Crescent Sweep on the front bar. On the back bar, we have Blazing Spear. This is very useful in terms of sustain and utility for the tank in Blackrose Prison. So it's very good to have, and it's also a very decent dot for the Magplar class. And we have Channeled Focus. This is going to be your source of Mage War, Mage Resolve. You will need it in Blackrose Prison. Things hit very hard, as I keep saying. I'm not really exaggerating. I'm just trying to emphasize it. It's kind of bewildering to go in after doing 4-man dungeons and even Dragonstar Arena on Vet to suddenly running for your life. This will also be your lifeline as a Magplar. You still need sustain in there, even as a Breton. This is a lot of sustain when you stand in it. And we have Blockade of Storms, and as I already went over this, while we have Blockade of Storms for the off balance for ourselves. And this is actually going to play into how much AoE damage we'll be doing in comparison to other classes that might be in your group. So you have your Lightning Staff. Skills on your Lightning Staff bar will do more AoE damage. So Shard will be doing more AoE damage. Wall will be doing more AoE damage, and of course your Destro will be doing more AoE damage. And we have Harness Magicka, Emergency Shield if needed, because maybe you'll be caught off guard from your front bar and you don't have Honor the Dead, and you'll have enough reaction time from the shield to swap back to your front bar and press Honor the Dead. Now the Channel Acceleration, this is going to be huge as well. It gives you minor force for a very long time, and you want to pop it before every single round in Veteran Blackrose Prison. You do not want to use Trap It's a stam drain, especially on a magic character, and channel acceleration probably gives a better uptime anyway, considering you're kind of gonna be moving around a lot in Blackrose. And this also, some people have been asking me, why not use guard? That's suicide. Please don't use it. Undaunted, typical Undaunted passives unlocked. That's pretty much it, guys. So we went over CP, gear, why we have the skills on the bars, and lastly, I just want to briefly mention again, if I haven't already in this video, there's a certain arena where you don't want to use Grothdarr, and that is on the second arena in Blackrose Prison, because the Netches will just constantly damage you with shock field every time your Grothdarr procs and the AoE touches them. I highly recommend using Iceheart instead for that particular arena, or you could use Iceheart throughout the entire arena if you'd like, if you feel like, you know, this helps you survive. But yep, that is pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching my newest DPS build video. I will be putting out more DPS build videos in the near future rather than just primarily focusing on tanking and healing. So stick around, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Stay safe and have a great adventure.